Hi guys, how are you? My name is Sandy Sills. I'm a probate specialist. I'm a real estate agent here in the Central Florida area, and I do a lot of probate properties, right? Probate means that someone died and they left a will, or maybe they don't leave a will, and they leave properties to different people. They leave, their assets, money, whatever it is. And so we come in the real estate space. If they leave properties and people typically don't know what to do with it or what is probate, or even if you become a personal representative, which we're going to go through in a minute, you typically may not know how to proceed with this whole situation, right? So this video is all about that. I'm going to make it as simple as possible. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well so that when I'm talking, you guys could understand what we're talking about. Um, so let's talk about what is probate. This is a very hard topic because this is where someone dies and they leave their inheritance, right? And typically they're going to have a beneficiary. So they're going to have someone that's going to be beneficiaries, which would be their kids and their families. And then also they're going to have someone who is a guardian over the will, right? They're gonna dictate someone who is then going to become the personal representative. Typically, it's a family member. It may be an oldest child. If it's a husband and wife, it may be one of the surviving spouse that becomes that personal representative. So the personal representative is a person that's going to oversee the estate. Now, whether they had a will or they don't have a will, the properties might end up in probate court because it has to go through probate, and that's where someone could contest the will. Let's say someone says, "Well, I don't agree with what the will is saying. I need to contest it because I was not added, or they didn't leave me enough, or whatever the situation is." So it goes to court, and that's where you could contest the will. Once the court agrees upon the finding of the will, or maybe if it's contested, once that's done, then that's the only time you're then able to distribute the property as per what the will states, right? So you could be a guardian over the will, you could be a personal representative over the will. Maybe the person that died also had an attorney that they want to represent them and that their family member. So there's all kind of different situation with this, right? But typically, there would be a will. They would have someone oversee the will for them, and then there's always going to be an attorney involved, right? Because once it gets to probate court, you will be assigned an attorney, or you could get your own attorney, but an attorney will definitely be involved. And until everything is settled, no one can get any part of this will, right? If that makes sense. So that's kind of what I want to go over with you today. So let's talk about first the person that died, right? So obviously, when you're alive, you would then make a will if you have assets or whatever it is, because you want to make sure that you want to leave for each person what you think they should get. And that's your personal preference, right? So you're going to have a will. Now, without a living trust, and a living trust is where it's almost like a living will. So if they died and there was a living trust, then it would still go to probate, but it wouldn't take that long in probate, or it may not even go to probate because the living trust exists. If there is no living trust, then it's going to end up in probate. And what I did was, because I do quite a few probate, I have a website here that you could go to, and this is going to give you a bunch of different information. So at the point when the person dies, somebody's going to report their death, and then once they're buried, or during the process of them being buried, if they have a will, the will is going to come into play. And once the will come into play, then an attorney is going to come into play, and then they're going to determine who needs to get who needs to get what off the will. Now, once the will comes into play, it's going to be reported to the court, because the courts it has to be recorded in the courts. And each month you have a different listing of different stuff that's going on with the court for that probate case. So now let's say it went into the court, and now let's say there is 5 siblings and maybe a surviving spouse and all that great stuff. The court decides if the will is justified. If one of the siblings want to contest the will, saying, "I don't think mom or dad intend for me to have only this. They really meant for me to have something else." Or maybe they're going to say, at the point when the will was written, the person that died wasn't in their right frame of mind. All kind of different things could come up during that process. So we did a few short videos on this website to kind of give you an idea of what takes place typically in probate. So let's listen to this real quickly on what is probate. Hopefully it plays for us through the video. And I don't know why this keep doing this, so we're gonna just wait for this to go over. You know, I guess we have to do a little YouTube thing in a ding here. So here we go.
Probate is the legal process whereby a will is proved in a court and accepted as a valid public document that is the true last testament of the deceased. The granting of probate is the first step in the legal process of administering the estate of a deceased person, resolving all claims and distributing the deceased person's property under a will. A probate court decides the legal validity of a testator's person's will and grants its approval, also known as granting probate, to the executor. The probated will then becomes a legal instrument that may be enforced by the executor in the law courts if necessary. A probate also officially appoints the executor or personal representative, generally named in the will, as having legal power to dispose of the testator's assets in the manner specified in the testator's will. However, through the probate process, a will may be contested. The English noun probate derives directly from the Latin verb probare, to try, test, prove, examine, more specifically from the verb's past participle nominative neuter probatum, having been proved. Historically, during many centuries, a paragraph in Latin of standard format was written by scribes of the particular probate court below the transcription of the will, commencing with the words, for example, Probatum Londini Fintus Modi Testamentum Coram Venerabili Viro, name of approver, legum doctori curia prerogativi condariensis. A testament.
Okay, I think that's enough. I don't know what words is that she's using, but that's how probate come into play. So let's watch this quick video about what probate attorneys do. Why do we need an attorney?
Probate attorneys specialize in the legal process that occurs regarding transferring a person's property after their death. Whether the person had a will setting forth their wishes and desires regarding their estate, or the property is to be distributed in accordance with state default rules, probate attorneys handle the administrative tasks such as conducting an inventory of the assets, paying any debts and taxes, and facilitating the distribution of assets to the heirs. Also, if there are disputes between the heirs about who gets what, probate lawyers handle the litigation. Many times, families endure incredibly difficult fights over their inheritances. While sometimes the same probate lawyer will handle the administrative tasks and any disputes, some attorneys specialize in one or the other.
Okay, so there we go. So we have created a website whereas you could go and find out about probate. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We also have a probate frequently asked question because probate could be very complicated, guys. And there is no one false rule to all files on probate because it depends upon if there's sibling rivalry, if each person agree that what they're going to be given is what should be given to them. Maybe there was a child or wayward person that no one knew about, but they somehow is on the will. And then maybe the other siblings is thinking they should not be on the will. So it becomes very complicated. So we do have a glossary here that if you click on each one, it will give you the terminology. It will give you the meaning of what some of these things are. Like joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. This is for husband and wife. So this is saying that if one spouse died, then the other spouse will get the rights of survivorship. So they get whatever it is that the other spouse had. Testament means that someone died with a will. Intestate means they did not die with a will, and that becomes a whole different situation. So it becomes very complicated when it comes to probate. And how we come into play, our group come into play, is we work on the real estate side of it. So let's say someone died and there was a bunch of real estate involved, and the heirs wanted to sell it. You know, one thing, maybe they wanted to sell the property. Could also be they want to sell the property to the fastest person that will buy it. And maybe the property may be in disrepair, it might need work and they don't want to spend the money to repair it. or maybe they do want to spend the money to repair it and sell it at market value. So we do a couple of different things. So one of the things that we do is first find out what is it that we need to do with this property. Do we need to get it cleaned out first? Because there may be other stuff in it that the heirs don't want. Maybe we may want to have an estate sale because maybe there's a lot of like unique furnitures and arts and that kind of stuff, and we could have an estate sale and get those sold and then find out what is going on with the property. Sometimes the properties tend to sit for months, depends upon how complicated the probate case becomes. And while it's sitting there, sometimes nobody's doing anything with the property because of all the dispute that's going on, right? And no one want to say, well, I'm not going to spend my money to maintain it because I'm not sure how much of it I'm going to get. So that's where we come into play, because we will go ahead and we will help to get the property maintained so it's in the best condition once the probate process is finished, and it could actually go on the market for sale. Or maybe a property was inherited and the heirs prefer to get it rented, like they want to rent it, but they don't want to necessarily become a landlord. They want to have a property manager that will take care of it for them. So that's some of the stuff that we do during the probate process. Not all the time when properties are inherited, heirs want to keep it. Sometimes they may want to sell it. Sometimes they may want to say, you know what, we're going to sell it as is. We just want an investor to buy it as soon as possible. So we work with a bunch of cash investors that will just buy it as is. Or they might say, you know what, if we fix this property up, we might be able to get, fair market value for it. Then we have contractors that we work with that will go ahead and do all the construction work and then put it on the market. Another thing that we do is if the heirs, let's say they inherited the property, it need work, but they don't want to put the money into to fix it, but they would prefer to get fair market value. We have contractors that will go out, fix the property, then we sell it, and at the closing table, they will pay for the cost of the construction work, and then they get the balance. So we come in the real estate space of probate. There's a lot of properties that goes on the market, through probate because again, they're inherited. Maybe the parents lived, let's say, in Florida, but maybe their kids are all over or in another state, and the children from those states don't want to necessarily move to Florida to deal with a property. So maybe at that point, they may either want to sell it or to maybe give it to a property management company so that they can take care of it. So that's kind of how we come into play, right? And again, the process is very complex. And it's a very heart-wrenching process as well, because of course, people are grieving the loss of a loved ones or loved one. And then we have all this bickering with the different ears and all these different things going on. And then they're trying to figure out, and I know I'm eating my H's, so I really do mean HIERS. I'm from Jamaica. We eat all of our H's, right? So, in the case of real estate property being inherited, then it has to go through the probate process first to make sure everything is legit and to make sure that the person that it is willed to will actually get it and no one is going to contest that, right? Once all that is done and the attorneys determine that, then the property then would go on the market for sale. And they decide, the people who inherit the property, the heirs, they decide if they want to sell the property, if they want to keep it and just manage it. Maybe one of the heirs want to buy it outright and live there, right? So all these different things is what we help our clients with when it comes to probate properties. And we work through this a lot because, unfortunately, no one wants to die, but that's something that happens all the time. And people typically, when they have assets such as a real estate asset, they will have a will. But it still has to go through probate unless they have a living trust. Sometimes if it's a husband or wife, then it would go to the surviving spouse. And that's where this would come into play. Okay, so or it might be left to the spouse and the children, and maybe the children want to sell it and they want the surviving spouse to move in with them. So this is how we help. So we help with the trashing out if we need to trash out the property. We help with if it's going to be an estate sale where we're selling different furnitures or arts or whatever the situation is. We help with maintaining the property until it's time to put it on the market. We help with finding a quick cash investor to purchase the property, or we also help with making the property ready for fair market value, or maybe it's already ready for fair market value. So we help with determining what the price would be. Does it need any work to make it more valuable or to make the heirs get more money from it. And those are kind of the stuff that we do. So if you're dealing with any probate situation and you have a property, you're not sure how it works or what you want to do, you give us a call and we will be more than willing to go through that with you. As I said, we deal with this all the time. It becomes very complicated. We invite you to come to our website here if you have any questions or any detail that you want specifically answered, and we will be able to do that for you. We'll be able to answer any questions before you go, before you have to call us then, right? If you don't want to call us, you just want to figure out, well, what's going to happen next, then we could also help you with that. So I just wanted to do a quick video on probate because people don't typically deal with probate until they have to, right? People don't even want to do a will unless they have to, unless they get sick. They're like, well, maybe we should do a will. So that's kind of how technical it gets. And people don't normally get to see what really takes place until somebody actually dies, which is a very sad thing. And as you could see here, we have so much different issues. Sometimes they may die and sometimes they may have creditors that they need to pay. So the attorneys will have to pay off all the creditors. Maybe they inherited a property, but there's real estate taxes due on that property. There could be liens against the property, right? Because maybe right before the person died, they were really sick and they weren't paying a lot of things and they start liening the properties and all this type of stuff. So there's a lot of complicated things that could occur with properties in probate. And that's where we come into play, where we try to help as much as we possibly can. And also we try our best. So a lot of times we have buyers in waiting or investors that will just purchase the property. So the heirs don't have to go through a long process of buying it. We have buyers that want to buy on fair market value or investors that want a quick sale. Based upon how they want to sell the property, it might need work and they don't want to fix it. So based upon what they need, that's what we come into play, right? So if you're going through probate or you are in probate and you have any questions to do with that, give us a call and we will get that answered for you. If you have properties you want to just sell really quickly through probate, give us a call and we will definitely go through that with you. Okay. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Again, my name is Sandy Sills. I am a Florida realtor that do a lot of probate properties. All right. Thanks so much. Bye now.
Introducing the Knock Home Swap, a new way to buy a house before selling your old one. Here's how it works. First, we get you approved for a new home loan. That way you can start making stronger offers on the houses you love. We'll even lend you the down payment on your new home so you can buy right away without worrying about your equity being tied up in your old house. Once you've bought your new home, we advance you up to 6 months of mortgage payments on the old house so you never have to pay 2 mortgages at the same time. Finally, we offer you up to $25,000 in prepaid home prep funds so you can sell your house for top dollar. And with a dedicated support team, we're there every step of the way to make sure your house sells as quickly as possible. We've spent a lot of time improving the real estate experience to give you more certainty, convenience, and cost savings. And we think that makes our home swap the best possible way to buy and sell a home. Find out more from your Knox certified agent today.